Welcome to the Royal Flush Podcast. My name is John Overy, the VP of Sales here at Royal Flush. In this podcast, we cover the ever-growing ins and outs of our state-of-the-art pipelining company. Specifically in this episode, we cover 4 topics that are very cool and unique: the jet vac truck, excavation, failure, and a trailer park. Stay tuned as we highlight each of those topics. You're going to love the conversation. What the hell is pipelining? 99% of people don't know what we do.
Pipelining is a way of making a repair to a sewer line or a drain pipe without having to dig it.
We're going to basically put a new pipe inside your old pipe, and what we do is really, really cool.
Ultraviolet light.
Without a doubt, is the coolest technology that we have.
Mark is the most knowledgeable pipeliner, certainly in New England, that I know.
So I always say, listen, I got the best team in the game, and it shows itself in situations like that. You got trailers loaded with every inch of equipment these guys could possibly need. Then you have that whole lining rig that's got everything. And you've got 4 to 5 guys that are going to show up there that are these technically trained guys that all are professionals at their job.
Very simple. We're going to be the biggest pipelining company in New England.
Welcome into the Royal Flush Podcast. I'm Kyle McShane, here with John Overy. And some exciting updates here at Royal Flush since the last time we recorded. We got a new piece of equipment. That's very exciting. Do you want to? We were just outside kind of looking at it.
Just playing with it.
Mark was playing around with it. So explain what it is, the thought process behind it.
Well, we have one piece of equipment and a new kind of division of what we're doing. So the new piece of equipment we bought is a jet vac truck, or what we call a Vactor truck in our industry and business. So I want to tell you a little bit about the truck, the piece of equipment, what it does, and then more importantly, why we purchased it and what kind of the plans are. So simply put, this truck is a big vacuum cleaner. That's really what it is. It's got all kinds of buttons and levers and hoodinkies and doodads. It's a really, really cool truck. Anybody who likes trucks or equipment or technology, it's a cool piece of equipment. But the purpose of this is something to focus on stormwater and catch basins. Now, you and I, Kyle, did a video not that long ago about the flooding here in southern New England. And when you drive by a road or a parking lot and you see it flooded, that really has an association to do with the catch basin being backed up with debris or broken, or a lot of different things can go wrong with it. And so this is an avenue that we wanted to get into, not only for the physical work that a Vactor truck can bring into Royal Flush, us now maintaining and servicing catch basins, but more importantly, what that catch basin cleaning, vacuuming, jetting, and cammering can then lead to on the lining portion of what we do. As we know, we're called Royal Flush Pipelining, not Royal Flush Jet Vacuuming. And that's what we do. We are pipeliners. And so this is a great ancillary service and piece of equipment that kind of now falls under our vertical umbrella of our service that we can add that will give us a foot in the door and something that leads directly to every day what we want to do, which is line pipes. And so, again, the customers that this is really specific to is the same people that we're doing business with already. Right? So we really specialize and have a lot of luck with healthcare and hospitalities, schools and universities, apartment complexes, commercial industrial buildings, right? Every one of those buildings has a parking lot. In every parking lot, depending on the size, when it's a school or a university, they're huge parking lots. When it's a hospital, how many cars do you think can park at a hospital? Thousands,
Hundreds,
right?
yeah.
How about an apartment complex that has 250 units? We're talking, hundreds of parking spaces. In those parking lots, there inevitably are catch basins. Those are the grates in the ground that all the rainwater, and we call stormwater, is going to catch in, filter underground, and ideally go somewhere. Those, like everything else in the world, need to be maintained, right? And we figured, hey, now is the time for us to get into that business and that service, really align with the current customers we have, certainly go after some new customers that fall under our umbrella, but really we're not interested in becoming the company you hire for us to jet and vac your stormwater lines. We want to investigate them, maybe be a service maintenance plan, maybe be a one-off, but ideally uncover more issues that are going on with the opportunity to line more pipes. And so it's a very cool piece of equipment. It's also a very expensive piece of equipment, right? So we bought our truck used, but brand new, these trucks can go anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000, $200,000 to $500,000, depending on how big and how many things you want on it. And so, we're talking like, Ferrari type of money here. No, we didn't spend that much. We spent a good amount of change, about $65,000 on this truck. But they're very high-tech, in-depth truck that does a lot of cool things. So I am super excited. I think we're going to be able to target the customers that we already do business with. And so, if we've already done a pipelining job for you for $5, $10, $15, $20, $50, $100,000, we've already built up some trust. You know us. You'll probably pick up the phone. You've trusted in us with, again, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. We've already done something technical. And now we can kind of go back and like, hey, what about this? Do you have an underground stormwater maintenance program? Have you thought about this? Are your parking lots ever flooding? Do you have any problem with rainwater? These types of things. Really simple, open-ended questions. They'd be like, yeah, you know what? This is something we probably should have maintained. In an ideal world, for a facility or a hospital or an apartment complex, these catch basins should really be maintained or cleaned out 2 times a year. They really should be addressed in the late spring and the late fall, right? So you have to think that it's, we're in May now, but let's just say it's March 25th, right? And we've had a couple of snowstorms, some baby hurricanes, trees, debris, all those leaves. Those things are all going to catch and gather in that storm basin. And so now you've built up, inches, if not feet of debris. So when it does rain, it maybe can't drain the proper way that you want. And so the early spring is the right way to address all the stuff from the winter. And then the late fall is the way to address anything from the rest of the season, but also to prep and plan for the gathering of the salt and the sand and the leaves heading into the fall and the winter. That's kind of the plan of how we're going to go after it, the maintenance schedule, and I couldn't be more excited about this truck.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. You had mentioned at the beginning that it's not only a new piece of equipment, but a new division. And you kind of alluded to it, but the jet vacuum service isn't, it doesn't go hand in hand with the lining service necessarily. So these are 2 different, for the first time in, a while in Royal Flush's history, there's a service being offered next to pipelining. Not necessarily we're only doing this if there's a pipelining project, but we also do it separately.
Yep.
If need be.
Yep, exactly. So now, kind of an ancillary additional service, right? So again, if you think at the bottom of the pyramid or the bottom of the vertical integration, right? So we've got pipelining that we do. We offer coating. We do camera inspections. We now offer jet vac service. And we now also have an excavation division. And so I'll go into that in a little bit. And so the plan is that each one of these filters up to the opportunity to always line a pipe. For instance, for us, it wouldn't make sense for Royal Flush to have a landscaping division. Now, I bet you we could start a landscaping company tomorrow, and we could probably get customers.
We got Joe.
And yeah, and we could probably get a couple $100,000, if not $1 million worth of business. I have no doubt about it. But that doesn't lead to a pipelining job. The jet vac service will allow us to clean out storm basins, identify if there's an issue, a collapse, a break, a destroy, whatever, camera the basin and or a pipe that's leading up to if there's a clog or a backup, and then upon cameraing it, we can tell the customer, hey, there's a break, there's a collapse, there's a crack, that's something we can line and fix for you permanently. Or now, for transition, we also can offer a full scope of excavation. So let's kind of transition into that. So if you've been listening to our podcast, you know that we bought what we call a mini excavator about 1.5 years ago now. And that was really to dig our small access pits that we need on our projects. And that was going fantastic. But we also realized that twofold. We needed to find the right person to really focus on that internally and hire a guy to kind of specialize in that. But also, there's other things and opportunities in those projects that we're missing. Now, if we take a step back, somebody could very easily say, John, isn't it contradictory of what you just said about pipelining, focus? And a lot of people say it's no dig, trenchless, whatever, but now you guys are offering digging. So I would say yes. In the big picture, from 10,000 feet, that could be counterintuitive and not make sense. However, the larger scale commercial projects that we do, inevitably there always is a need to dig at some point. it's becoming less and less rare on a project, especially a commercial project, that you don't have to dig. And that is just because the logistics of the pipes, where it goes, what happens, right? Things, very rarely is it just like, oh, it's 200 feet straight and it's open-ended, and right? So there's a lot more digging involved. And then secondarily, we realized that we were missing out on opportunities and passing work up to other people who are great and we have great relationships with. But now, really, there is no need for any pipe that we look at unless the pipe is in perfect shape, which hopefully for you as a customer, that's the case. But we know it's not always the case. Any pipe we look at, I now can offer you a solution from us at Royal Flush to fix it. We are always going to go towards pipelining, no matter what. However, if your pipe is collapsed or broken or destroyed in a section, depending on where it was or the logistics of it or how deep it was, we might have dug and done a point repair, but now no matter what, we're going to do it. We have a full excavation team now. We really would shy away from anything in the road before. It was a little nerve-wracking, a little scary, it's a little different. We're not doing that anymore. We would shy away from depth. Anything more than 6 feet or so, we would really shy away from. Because again, we can dig, but we weren't digging experts. Now we have somebody who's a digging expert. And so really we can go to any depth that we feel comfortable with. We can do any pipe. And at the end of the day, if a pipe is so bad and it is truly collapsed or it is beyond repair and it cannot be lined, now we internally have the decision, hey, is this something that we still want to pursue with our excavation division? We can dig and replace it? Or is it worth saying no, or is it worth passing up to somebody else? We simply just have more options now, right? So we're going to be able to get more jobs on our tentacles, more suction cups that we can latch onto, opposed to, looking at a job, camera. I can't tell you how many times this scenario happened. We go to a job, we look at it, the pipe's too far gone. The bottom, more than 50% of the bottom's gone. This needs to be trenched. This needs to be excavated. That's a little bit beyond our scope. You got to find somebody to dig and replace it, unfortunately. And that does happen a lot. Now, no more. We can internally handle that trenching, that dig and replacing, that point repair. Before, if it was, say we had 50 feet of pipe, if more than half of it needed to be dug, ultimately they're going to dig the whole thing. But now we can offer this two-pronged approach of hey, we'll only dig as much as you need to. We can do that all inside now, all internally at Royal Flush. Maybe we're digging 25 feet and maybe we're lining 25 feet, right? Maybe we're digging the whole thing. We can all do that internally now. So we're really just trying to latch on to the things that we can control, put more things under our umbrella, have more opportunity to say yes to a customer. There's a service that we can offer and provide a solution for you, opposed to passing things up. And so that is really, really exciting.
I think it's interesting, and this is kind of a little off topic, but just videos that we've made in the past, you've talked about the vertical integration and kind of controlling every part of a job where everything's kind of under our control. We don't have to rely on other people for certain aspects of a job. That vertical integration thing is clearly kind of coming into play. And then I remember we did one of these episodes talking about goals for 2024, and you talked about, I think the phrase you used was investing in human capital. And now we're bringing people on who specialize in this exact service to kind of hone in on that vertical integration. So
absolutely,
big things changing at Royal Flush.
100%. We are growing in our web of services to service and solve solutions for as many people as possible. And I think the more we kind of branch out with that, but still under our, right? It's like it's a strategic branch. It's not a explosion. It's the more we do that slowly and understand it, the more services we can put under umbrella, the more chances that when I look at a job or we meet a customer and talk on the phone, I can say, yes, that's a service that we can provide, and I think I can get you a solution. The more we can say that, the more chances we can meet the customer, the more chances we can look at the job, we can build a relationship, the more estimates we can get out, the more jobs we're going to get. It's a simple, really standard like math equation.
Yeah. And it's like you had mentioned, might not necessarily line on every project, but it's we can solve, every call that comes in, we can now solve a higher percentage of those problems.
Exactly.
And as you've mentioned, sometimes we dish it out to other people, but it can kind of stay under our umbrella. We have kind of the legislation over that job if they reach out to us.
Yep. We can decide what we want to do with it moving forward.
Switching gears a little bit, I watched our excavation division in action for the first time yesterday. We had a project at, do you remember the name actually?
Wamasuda.
Wamasuda. I knew it was a funny name. A mobile home park community in North Attleboro. And it kind of goes hand in hand. We've done apartment complexes here and there, and I think, it kind of helps that same issue
Yep.
of lining a pipe at a apartment complex. So do you want to kind of walk through that whole project yesterday?
Well, the first thing I think I want to hit on is everybody does this without realizing it or being intentional, is we all have stigmas about what we think of something when we hear it, right? Or the biases. And I think when people hear or think mobile home park or a trailer park or whatever you want to call it, you think of little amounts of money. I mean, let's just face it, that's the truth, right? You think of low income, you think of maybe the word poor. And with us and what we do, we've talked about this many times, our service is not inexpensive,
Yeah.
right? It's very high tech, and compared to other things and other plumbers, it's expensive. And Mark has always said this to me since the day that I started here at Royal Flush, is that you can't judge a customer by their appearance. You can't judge a book by the cover. And he always used to tell me stories of back in the day when it was just him and his dad plumbing, how many times they would pull up to a mansion in Providence, a beautiful house on the east side, a beautiful house in Barrington, the perception of money and wealth. Beautiful cars in the driveway, landscaper out front, maid, nanny. They would go in to do a standard plumbing job, and that customer wouldn't hire them because they felt they were too expensive. And he would tell me stories of they would pull up to a house or a project with a broken down car and the windows are smashed out and boarded up, and the guy walks out and he doesn't have any teeth. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever, man, whatever the price is, I'll give you cash, just do the job right now. Right? So perpetually it's like double-ended paradox of the value of what the perception of the customer is versus the value that they see in us and how they perceive our pricing, right? And again, that's just me being stereotypical of many people. That's obviously not the case either way. But it's worked pretty good that, the times that you expect, you said to yourself, money's not maybe an issue on this project, that inevitably that customer will always haggle you or disagree with the price. And the time where you've said to yourself, I don't know if there's any way this guy's got $10,000. I'll give you cash, man. Come on by when you can do the job. It happens nonstop in our business. So you can never judge a book by its cover. And then more importantly, for this trailer park, we had done work with them in the past. They're phenomenal people, by the way. The guy who kind of runs it, name is Rainey. He's kind of like the chairman of the board, or like their little association. We've been going back and forth for a couple of years on the project. They don't know if they're going to do it. They don't know if they have the funding. And he called earlier this spring. It was like, John, we're ready to go. We've got the money, no questions asked. And this was not an inexpensive project. This is 6 figures for this job. And he asked Mark to come to one of their board meetings where all the members would come and they could ask any questions. They have a banker there. This trailer park has hundreds of thousands of dollars in reserves. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you would never guess that from the stereotype that you would create from the people that stay there to the quality of the park to the trade. You would never in a million years think these people had this much money in their account. And we've gone to multi-million-dollar condo associations that can't approve the $350 camera because they don't have any money. And this was just a good, probably in human nature in general and judging people. This was, for me, I knew it, and every time I come across it, I said yes, but like this project and this customer and this trailer park hit home with me tenfold that it doesn't matter how things look on the outside. You never know what somebody has or doesn't have. And more times than not, when they have the flashy stuff, they don't actually have any money. It's the people who don't show it are the ones that have money. And this park saw our value. We communicated them everything. They trusted us. They understood our technology. And there was no questions asked. We'd love to work with you. We're ready to do the job. Here's the money.
That's
I wish every customer could be like that.
That's super interesting because you've talked about, and it's more of like a human nature thing. It's the perception I have money.
Yep.
But like when push comes to shove, that's kind of when you can tell, like, oh, do you actually
Yep.
have the money or the, reserves to actually do something productive with it?
Yeah.
Even at the trade show Sam and I went to last week, there was some guy and he was kind of just talking about how nice his apartment complex was and that he manages and then he had mentioned that he had used our technology before, not necessarily us, but some mom and pop shop up over near Boston. And he was like, yeah, like you guys probably aren't cheap. He's like, they weren't cheap. I was like, well, like that's the thing. Like if you have this super nice apartment complex, like you get what you pay for.
Exactly.
So
yeah. And so the specifics about the project, they kind of have streets, right? A main street, it's kind of like 3 streets. And they've got it in a row of, say, 10, 15, 20, 50 trailers in a row. And underneath each trailer is a sewer line, right? So you've got, say, I think there's about 450 feet of a sewer line that, 15 to 20 trailers drop in the top of. And the sewer line goes underneath every trailer out to one of their streets and then out to the main street, out to the sewer plant. And the pipes are old. They're decaying. There's been a lot of leaking from the trailers, a lot of backups. And so this pipe physically is on top of all the trailers. Now, a trailer is movable, but how much of a disruption and a frustration would be to physically move somebody's house?
yeah.
So that really wasn't an option. So they understood that pipelining is definitely the way to go. And so what we did is we broke that long shot of 450 feet up into 3 or 4 or 5 different shots, digging an access pit in between a couple trailers to gain access to the pipe to make it easier to line a shorter section. And we're going to wrap the job up tomorrow. It's been smooth. We've used our new excavation division to really focus on the pits and our team to line the pipes, and the customer's been happy. And Mark even went and talked to Rainey and said, hey, well, tell me about your storm catch basin maintenance that you've been doing here. And he goes, we definitely need those done.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win for everybody.
And it's one of those things where it's, chicken or the egg or the chicken. Doesn't really matter if we finish a lining project. We can say, hey, we've done work.
Yep.
We also do, catch basin
Yep.
maintenance, and vice versa. Someone needs their.
What I'm excited about the catch basin to kind of wrap it around to the jet vac truck is that, again, we know our services are expensive, and we know that not every individual person or facility manager or director or whatever either has the funds, is ready to spend the funds, or can get approval for the funds. This, they might be like, I see the value, I want to do it, I want nothing more than this pipe to be lined, but my boss can't get me the money, right? That happens. So, being turned down for a $20, $30, $40, $50, $75,000 project is something. However, to be able to take that and transition it to, well, okay, maybe now isn't the right time, or we weren't able to get it approved, or maybe somebody doesn't see the value in pipelining, so we can revisit that. But while we're here, again, we've already built a relationship. You kind of understand what we do. I see that you guys have a lot of parking lots. I see you must have storm catch basins. What about those? We've already probably gone back and forth now. I've already presented you an estimate. We've already kind of negotiated. So there's something there. I'm not just like, hey, can I clean out these things in the ground? People are like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
It's a really easy transition to go to that. And that's small money. These are, $2,500 for a half day, $5,000 for full day, right? I mean, it's kind of like, small money compared to a $50,000 lining project. So like that's going to be like, oh yeah, I have approval for that. Or that's a way easier approval to go to my manager to say, listen, yeah, the parking lot has flooded with that crazy storm we had. We haven't had these cleaned out. We probably should get this on the maintenance program. And then that inevitably will lead to, we'll be able to round back again. Maybe we do that for the year. Maybe we do it in the spring and the fall, and we go back again and be like, hey, what's going on with that pipe? It's still been acting up. Maybe now's the time we revisit it again. It's only gotten worse. It's not getting better. You guys brought us out here originally because there was a problem. You're looking for a solution. We just can't allocate the funds right now. Well, maybe a year later it's time to do it. We already do the catch basin for you. We've already met, right? So it's just like this nice circle of always being in contact with the customer, having another service that we can offer, and ideally, driving them to us at Royal Flush to do business.
I think we're definitely sharpening our swords in the underground world.
Yes.
That was that was not intended to sound as dramatic as it might have came out. But yeah, I think it's super exciting, opening different avenues of business, and it's all kind of falls under one umbrella. We are in a very risky industry.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of variables, and like I just mentioned, it's underground. You can't really see what's going on. It's really, you're just kind of shooting in the dark.
Yep.
You know. So naturally, sometimes, for better or for worse, we
Fail.
jobs take a sharp turn unexpectedly.
I use the word failure, Kyle.
Failure.
We
Perfect.
fail. I'm not going to say a lot, but failure is a part of life, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
of course.
it happens all the time. In our industry, that's the 10,000-pound gorilla that's sitting in the corner of the room. If you go to a trade show, you talk to somebody like, oh, you can just line these pipes and get this equipment. And, oh, my God, to make all this money, and it's great. And it is. But lining pipes is not easy. It is a highly skilled job, and it takes a lot of experience to know what to do. And there can be failure in what you do, and it can be catastrophic, and it can be very costly. Over the last 2 weeks, we've failed 3 liners in the span of 2 weeks. Now, we were able to get the liner out of the ground, right? So maybe not a failure in what you would deem to be a catastrophic failure, but we've been lining pipe for 8 years, and it still happens,
Yep.
right? And it seems to happen in rule of 3. Like it happened, we'll go 6 months and everything will go great, and then all of a sudden,
It's
or anytime you show up on a job.
Yeah, if you send me out like 2 or 3 weeks in a row on a
Yeah.
job, for context, I may be the bad luck charm at Royal Flush because every time I go out on a job, something goes wrong. Whether it's the liner or I showed up one time, the generator wasn't turning
Yep.
on.
You're the jinx of all the equipment.
Yeah. Things are looking up though. Nothing went wrong yesterday at the trailer park, so can't complain.
So yeah, and they were pretty big failures. One was a really large scale roof drain at a hospital that we're able to get out and figure out, and now we have a new plan. But for me, I think it's really good to just talk about times that you fuck up. And not that we fucked up or really did anything wrong per se, but like stuff doesn't go right. Right? Not every job goes to plan. Like shit happens. Literally in this industry, shit happens, okay? And if you talk to anybody in any business who said like, oh no, we don't have failures. I don't care if the guy cutting the grass. Like stuff happens. And in ours, it can be a little more hectic or stressful or catastrophic than some other things. But the amazing, I think, Mark, my brother-in-law, and the leader in the field, and really the leader of this company, his biggest attribute among a wide plethora of things is his willingness or fearless to fail is off the charts. It is off the effing charts, sometimes to a detriment. He is not afraid to do anything, even if it means he will fall flat on his face. I don't know many people who do that. Most people
Takes guts, iron guts.
are petrified to fail. And we're talking just in personal life, certainly in business. 99% of any idea never get off the ground, never even start because of the fear of failure. And 99% of businesses just fail in general. This guy is not afraid to fail. He is not afraid to try something he's never done before and learn about it and figure it out and be like, oh, I can do this. There's not one thing you could tell Mark that he doesn't think he could do.
I've seen it firsthand where he's mentioned, someone might ask if something can be done, and Mark's been like, well, technically no one at this company can really do it, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
Yep.
Like I'll go, balls to the wall, just run through it.
Yep.
And
so his ability to try things is like nothing I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring it up and let, whether you're in pipelining or something else, like we fail. I'm not gonna say all the time, but it happens. It happened 3 times in 1 week. And it was stressful and frustrating, but we figured it out. We fixed it. We got the jobs done. At the end of the day, it really wasn't that big a deal. But failures happen. And it's how you, right? It's just how you react to it, how you bounce back. right? Like I think it was maybe a month ago, or maybe you and I were talking about, because the basketball playoffs, and there's that great 90s Michael Jordan commercial where he's like, I've failed on the last shot, 327 times. And, I'm still considered the greatest basketball player of all time.
Yeah.
Right?
I think a lot of it is just, if you fail, accept defeat. And it's kind of like a, so what, now what? What can I learn from it? How can I keep going? Because if you fall flat on your face and you just stay there, you're cooked. You're dead in the water.
Yeah. The greatest baseball players fail 70% of the time. They get out.
Yeah.
3 out of 10, right? 70% of the time. Strikeout, ground ball, fly ball. Just no other world of life or industry is 30% like, wow, you're the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's life, business, it's about failing. And the more you fail, the better you get, and you learn from it, and then you just don't do it again. And that's what we're trying to do at Row. We will fail with the excavation division. We will have failures. We will dig up shit we're not supposed to dig up. We will have a plan, and it will not come to fruition. And we'll be like, oh shit, how do we figure it out? We will fail with the jet vac truck. We will do something we thought we could, and it couldn't. The truck will break. Things are going to get fixed. We will overpromise. We will underpromise. We will fail all the time, but we will not. We will never give up. We will learn from it. We'll know how to get better and better and better and better and better. And all of a sudden, those things just become everyday occurrence. Lining a pipe to us is no big deal. It's an everyday occurrence. It wasn't an everyday occurrence 8 years ago when we failed our first job.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think there's something to be said for experience too. Like, if you have experience, shooting liners flawlessly for a year, 2 years at a time, a couple failures in a 2-week span isn't going to just demoralize your confidence.
Yep.
But
Yeah, you know why? Because we're batting like 98%.
exactly.
They would create a whole new Hall of Fame for us in other walks of life when you bat 98%.
Yeah, it opens doors.
Yep.
But I think there's something to be said for experience from success, I guess, fueling you through failure.
You learn more from failing than you
So
succeed, Kyle.
if I started a pipelining company down the street tomorrow and I failed 3 liners in 2 weeks, I'd be like, oh shit, I kind of suck at this. Like, I'm probably not going to keep going with this. But guys like Chris and Eric, who've been doing it for years, that's really nothing to them. It might be stressful in the moment, but it's not going to just derail their confidence. It's not like we're going to stop lining pipes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
you
think
learn way more when you fail than when you succeed.
Yep.
I'm talking like, to me, it's 10x how much you learn. Because when you do something flawlessly or perfect, you don't go back and say, what are the steps that went great? What could we have done? You don't ask yourself those questions. When something doesn't go right, or we don't get a job that we wanted, or we did get a job and it effed up and it failed, you're like, okay, what did we do? Could we have changed anything differently? Would we have not changed anything? Was it just a hap of circumstance? Or is there, our plan was A and now we realize B is like, you do those things when it doesn't go right. You don't do those things when it goes perfect. You're just on to the next. And
it's almost expected.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you get better.
I agree. My high school graduation commencement speech, I don't know why. It's always going to live rent free in my head, but the mantra was like, fail forward. Every time. You fail, you get better from it. And that's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we wrap it up with there, Kyle.
Yeah.
I thought this was a great episode. We're not sure. You might see it in multiple episodes or one big one. I don't know. We'll see how we divvy it up. But there's cool things happening at Royal Flush as always. We've got some new tools, some new equipment, some new people, some new divisions, some failures. But we're always plugging forward and great times to come. Thanks as always for watching and listening. We'll catch you on the next one.